Rated M for mature.
And gentlemen, we're in for an incredible night. Oh, we're taking it up a notch. I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. Wes and Mike TZ coming all strong.
Okay, welcome back to season 2, episode 2 of the conference call, where today me and Mr. Chris Edwards and TJ down there at the bottom where he belongs, we're going to discuss our ideas around trauma, our ideas around family, and navigating acceptance, specifically inspired by an episode of the Gerard Carmichael Show. Fellas,
Couple of
you good?
Yeah.
You feeling all right?
We here.
You here? Okay. So
we're here.
You know, I think that this show has been inspiring lots of conversation. There's a lot of people have been talking about it. He's been a very hot button issue. And I think that's really what he intended to do to begin with, right? He wanted to spark controversy. He wanted to be interesting in ways that he isn't funny. So I think that he accomplished his mission, as far as I can tell, right? Did you guys enjoy the show? Did you look at it? What did you think?
I will say that this series was very cringeworthy. I'm being serious. I felt embarrassed to at certain points, and I kind of felt bad for family members to a certain degree. I don't think he did himself any justice. He actually walks away from this show, I think, kind of unredeemable in a way to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about being voyeuristic and putting yourself on Front Street, but I don't think that what he did or what he intended actually translated, because he really walks away looking like a bad guy to me. And I'm not sure if I'm really a fan of his anymore.
We're going to have to get into why you think that in just a little bit. But TJ, what do you think?
I kind of disagree with Chris, to be honest. I think he did exactly what he intended to do, which was look kind of like not an all-around bad guy, but a very deeply flawed human being.
Yeah.
Because he had control over the narrative. I'm assuming he had control over, the final product, and he said, yes, put that out. So I'm assuming that was his intention.
I mean, there was an entire discussion around the final product between he and his friend on camera during the show. But
yeah,
that's another thing for us to consider.
But that doesn't mean it's always the right decision.
One thing that I can say is that this show inspires audiences to try to move away from the dichotomy of like good and bad, and like really just think about people as they are. And so when I was watching it, the one thing that I thought about over and over again was like liability, right? In both directions, because I do think that the show is a liability. I think Gerard is a liability, but I also think that his family members and friends are liabilities as well, because of the way that they interact with one another and the lack of acceptance or honesty that exists between them, which allows him to kind of manipulate their reactions to his reality. And I think that a lot of that is based on financial need.
Oh,
I'm not going to disagree with you on that. But that's where I think that he becomes really the bad guy, because he knows that a lot of people are dependent on him, and they're going to do whatever they need to do so they can be financially okay. Like, one example is of one of his friends that came to live with him. Yes, she was a little bit more I think she was a little gold digger to a certain degree, but he had total control over her and kind of used her. Who goes to someone's doorstep without a plan and like, oh, I'm going to live with you because you got money? Like,
you went back home after a month, so
no. But he threw her out and didn't really he put her up in an apartment kinda, and was like, all right, I'm gonna pay for the first month. Now you have to figure it out. Like, who does that? I'm not blaming him completely, because she was at fault also, but it's just like
he knew who he was before she went over there.
Yeah, but the thing about it is he knew he had the power, and he used that power against her.
Yeah. I'll give you that. Okay, come on, TJ. What you got to say?
Get it out.
I don't know. I guess I'm just maybe I'm seeing it, especially like the financial piece, I guess from, I don't know, maybe a different angle. Yes, he has this financial power over his parents because
Mhm.
I don't think he has it over anybody else in his,
Why?
well, let me not say anybody else. His friends, the friends that we saw.
Why?
So specifically the friend who came to visit or whatever.
The girl?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think he,
I don't think it was power, but I do think he has the ability to manipulate her financially.
Absolutely.
And I think manipulation is power to some degree, right? But like the whole putting her up in an apartment, like just the way that he treats her speaks to maybe some of the financial underpinnings that's happened that maybe aren't discussed during the show.
Okay. I mean, I'm not disagreeing that it was absolutely fucked that he made her believe that he got this apartment for her like permanently and it was only for a month and he did not tell her.
Right.
That was fucked up. But I don't know. I just feel like, I guess I'm trying to, if I was in the place of the parent,
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. I guess
I mean, he
maybe
actually said during the show, how they gonna not welcome me into a house that I pay for?
Yeah, that.
Yeah. And so I guess that would, if I was in their position, I guess I would take that into consideration.
How do you
And
think he was able to get them to agree to be on camera, specifically when he was showing them in their worst light?
that's a
I
point.
pay for this. I pay for it.
Okay, but I don't know. I just feel like, okay, so the way I'm seeing it is, yes, my child is paying for all of these things, but it's based, a lot of this money has come from the way that I've treated him.
It was
So
given sub and
let me
dom
get my
dynamic.
shit together. Let me get my shit together because I'm living in this house based on the horrible way that I treated my child.
But
I don't think they saw it that way. They didn't see it that way.
And I think that's the problem.
At what point was they getting their shit together?
I mean, clearly they.
I mean, she prayed for him. She prayed the gay away for him on camera.
Yes, on camera.
Yeah.
And like she had to know, like I would think in order to get them to agree to release this, right, that they had to be able to see what was being released prior to it being released, right?
They had to sign off on it.
So they may have had them sign off before they recorded
beforehand, maybe.
So that could be something different too. But I just, in my mind, I'm thinking at the point that I realized that you were trying to spotlight all of my shortcomings for the pleasure of your audiences, I would have been like, now why you think I'm gonna do this again? Like, and I could just imagine him being like, you do want to keep having somewhere to stay, right?
Listen to me. Can I tell you something? The only smart person in this whole entire show was the friend that had the ski mask on. He was like, you are not going to embarrass me.
Yeah, he was very smart about that. And I'm quite curious actually to know who he is. I'm pretty sure it's probably easy to find out. I just haven't even Googled.
I think it's Michael Rappaport, to be honest.
I'm not sure who that is. I feel like I know that name, but
Google him.
But it's hard for me to not be on his side.
I can see that.
Has he done some egregious things? 100%. Horrific things, 100%. But when it comes to his parents, it's difficult for me not to side with him.
What makes you think
that? What makes me think that?
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's really easy for parents to love their children unconditionally. And the fact that I'll speak specifically about his mom because we got more time with her than his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, I feel like with her, it was this really what is the word I'm looking for? It was this staunchness of remaining, and this bullheadedness of remaining where she was.
They were the same person, though. They were the same person. Like, I hear what you're saying. I get it. And I guess maybe I understand both sides of it because I've been him, not really, but like sort of, right?
I know what you mean.
And I'm also a parent, right? And so in my mind, I see it all play out, but I also see them both being the same person, right? I see her being resolute in her position and with her religion, and I see him being resolute in his idea of what acceptance and love looks like. And unfortunately, you just can't impose your version of love on other people. Like, you can tell them what it takes for you to feel love, and if they aren't able to give it to you in the way that you need it, then it's up to you to decide whether or not you're going to remain in relation with them.
Let me ask you something. Actually, both of you. I understand the deep pain and hurt that he feels with the rejection of, his parents, but especially his mother, and how they didn't acknowledge the fact that how they treated him when he came out to them. And, but do you think that doing it on a national platform where you talk about your parents and then bring them on there and do it in that way is appropriate? Like, would you ever do that to your parents?
I don't think anything about anything that was going on in that show between any of them required being on TV.
It did. Like, those were
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching the mess.
No, I get it. I mean, but it's just like, why? Like, what did you accomplish by embarrassing yourself and your parents? I'm sure he didn't see it as embarrassment, but it was so cringe-worthy for me. Like, there were parts where I was like, I felt very uncomfortable watching it.
I think that was the point. I think that was the point.
But that's so mean. That is so mean. Just because you didn't get the reaction you wanted when you had a private conversation does not mean you had to do this publicly and embarrass your parents.
I think he gave an explanation for it. I just don't know whether or not people accept it. It sounds like you didn't accept his explanation.
Not at all.
His explanation for why he was doing it on camera, TJ.
Well, I don't remember what his explanation was.
His explanation was that the cameras gave him the courage that he needed to have.
Oh, I understand that.
Here's the thing. All right, I'll give you that. Record it. Don't release it.
How old is he?
Late 20s? Hold on, let me see.
No, he has to be older than that.
If he only in his late 20s, life have lived him.
Yeah, 37. He's 37.
Okay, that's more like it.
37. Yeah, that's
he should know better. Right. He should know better.
No.
He's 37 in age, but in emotion, he's much younger. Emotionally,
like 25.
Much younger. Yeah,
maybe younger than that.
Yeah.
And you know why I say that? Because look at how he treated his boyfriend, the person that he loved. It's one thing to do what you're doing, but be honest and open about it, and then not try to manipulate the situation so that your way is the only way to see it. Like, he was jealous of the fact that they agreed to have an open relationship, and the reason why they did that was because he was already cheating on him.
Well, the boyfriend that wasn't no saint either.
Well, no, but that was after the fact. That was after he said, "Let's do this."
Yeah, but the tea is like, you can only convince a motherfucker into doing something that they were interested in doing.
Look, I'm not.
I don't know that. All I know is
I'm just saying. Wait, I have a question though.
Okay.
I want you to consider it. Just go with me for a moment and just consider this and think about the possibility. I really think a lot of what we see with him is a fetish for shame, humiliation, and confrontation.
I can see that.
Oh.
I can see that. I totally could see that.
Meaning you think he enjoys being shamed?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think he enjoys the act of inflicting it on others as well, because in that way he gets to participate from a place of control.
Yes. That's a great observation.
I hadn't thought about that, but
You know, a lot of people have shame kinks, right? Like,
oh yes, 100%.
yeah. And I don't know. He got shame kink written all over. Like, it's given last week's episode of Interview with the Vampire.
Oh, I haven't watched. I don't know.
Oh. So there's this. Okay, I gotta tell y'all this because this is my favorite part of this episode.
Oh,
So this is one part of last week's episode where the two main characters were having this conversation, and one character says to the other character, "Are you asking me to do it, or are you telling me to do it?" And the other one says to him, "Just get in the casket face down, and I'll explain while I fuck you."
Oh,
Okay.
well,
I said, "Oh."
now, I mean,
But like it was giving very much that energy, right?
I was gonna say now I'm not into shame or humiliation, but if someone had said that to me, I'm not sure if I would have disagreed.
He didn't.
I kind of like being told what to do.
He did
Anyway,
disagree, but like I don't know. I thought that was an interesting angle, interesting perspective that we could explore or think about for him, because I think control and liability are at the heart of what's happening in this show, right?
I agree.
Like, it's just about control and exercising that control in ways to fulfill or mend unhealed hurt.
Yeah, I control for sure, and that's why again that I am typically on his side when it comes to the dynamic with his parents.
Mm-hmm.
As I said numerous times on the episode, the recap episodes or the tweet episodes I did about this show, I am not a parent, so keep that in mind about when I say things like how I feel a parent should be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really difficult for me to understand how a parent cannot simply see their child as they are however they are, whether they are gay, trans, or even like less serious things, like they go into a profession that the parent did not see coming, or like whatever. It's really difficult for me to empathize with the parent when they do want to access that, or when they want to try to control their child in that way, where you could just be like, this is the journey that my child is on. In some cases, these are the choices that they have made, and therefore I accept it. As long as they're not harming anyone, as long as they're not doing anything illegal, whatever, let them, find their own path throughout life. So I really struggle with a parent trying to control their child in that way, because I feel like parents, even before birth, parents have this vision of what their offspring is going to do, what they're going to be. And the second or the moment that child either rebels or shows, something different, it becomes this huge problem. And I'm just like, what did you think this was when you decided to give birth, when you decided to, get pregnant or whatever? Like, did you think that this was going just to be a carbon copy of you? Like, how do you think that? I don't understand.
Well, I think a lot. Go ahead, Rex. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I think a lot of parents do put a lot of pressure on and expectations on their children to have the life that they wanted to have. And that's where they're wrong. When parents do that, they automatically set themselves up for failure. You cannot have a predetermined outcome for what your children are going to do. You are always going to be disappointed. And, that's why, like, granted, I talk about how I just disagree with a lot of the decisions that he made for this show and bring his parents on. But I want people to understand, I do not excuse the behavior, especially of his mother, and how she treated him, and how she was not fully accepting of him. She was like, "Oh, I love you," but it was always a conditional love. You know what I mean? It's just like, "I love you, but I just wish that you can pray away I'm gonna pray away the gate for you. You know, you'll eventually come around. And even like when she was around his boyfriend, oh, you know, his friend, like, stop disrespecting me in my space. Like, that bothered me more than anything else. It's just like, all right, I have you in my space. You know, I welcome you in my home. Respect my home the way I've respected your home, you know, as far as acknowledging who these people are in my life. Like, this is the person that I have decided to be with, even though he disrespects him too, but that's whole nother subject. You know, respect that. Like, it's just like, I couldn't imagine having family or friends come to my home, and them disrespect my husband. Like, nope, sorry, you gotta go. Like, that's not something I'm going to tolerate.
So I'm here's what I'll say, and let me just caveat what I'm about to say with the fact that I don't believe this is the way to be. I do think that there's a certain amount of growth and self-awareness that parents have to have that they don't always have. I didn't have it at first, because I think the truth of the matter is a lot of us have children far too early before we become fully developed adults. But I think as parents, children are often looked at as like the biggest investment you're going to make in your life up to that point. And like everybody else, you expect a return on your investment. And the return from the point of view of a kid is them to fulfill all the dreams that you have for them. And even though those dreams had nothing to do with you, right? Like, it's nothing that you were going to get out of it other than the enjoyment of watching this sort of prideful thing that happens when we see our kids do the things that we always hope that they will be able to do. But it's also the reality is, when you have that sort of expectation around what your kids are going to be, you have to grieve the death of that expectation. And some people don't process all the way through that grief to the point where they can be fully accepting of the reality of who their children are. And it hurts both the person and the kid. So I don't know. I had a lot of work to do. I even have gone back and had conversations with my children about who I wasn't when they were kids. And I always say to them, what I'm saying to you is an explanation, not an excuse. Like, I am just explaining to you that, you know, I was also a young person when you were born. So I wasn't who I should have been or who I hoped I would be, that kind of thing. But, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. Like, you have to own your mistakes. I just don't think that his parents were capable of owning
Not at all.
their part in what was done, because they hadn't fully reckoned with their own bad behavior. So, like, they can't offer him an acceptance that they haven't even been able to give themselves.
Yes, and I think that's the truly unfortunate part, because once again, empathizing with Gerard, I feel as though, like, if I can do it as your child, or if I can process these things and I can see the wrongness in the way I was brought up and all of this behavior, if I can do it, you can do it, because I came from you.
But what exactly has he done though? Like, because I feel like the maturity that you're saying that Gerard has been able to exemplify by recognizing the fault in some of the traditionalism in his upbringing, his parents should be able to recognize it. But like, I don't know that I think he recognized it because it benefits him. Like, it's unhealed all the way around. Like, I understand why you empathize with him, because I do think that his parents aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they're not being given the love that they would expect to receive as parents, right? Because they've been faulty. They didn't do the things. They want him to look over the stuff that they messed up, but they're not able to, like, you know, have that same energy towards him. But I don't know that he is doing any of the things that he's expecting from them.
Say more. How, in what way?
Like, he's not really offering them forgiveness. He's not really offering them acceptance. The acceptance that he give
Oh.
to the parents is conditional on whether or not they accept him the way he wants to be accepted. Like the things that he wants, he's not even able to give.
I would argue that it's not for him to offer up first.
But it ain't on the table.
It's not on the table because it's not been offered to him yet.
Okay.
Yeah, but
and that's why I empathize, because like as the child,
Yeah. But he's not a child.
He is
anymore.
the child. He's not a child, but he's the child.
He's the child, but like at some point, like you move beyond your parents' mistakes and you have to own the reality of being an adult. So, like you said earlier, that he's mentally like 25 or younger. So that's some stuff that he got to clean up.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, and I'm in agreement with Rex in that, because I'm going to look at my personal history with my biological sperm donor father. I don't have a relationship with him, but there came a point where I had to say, you know what? I can't expect him to acknowledge the mistakes that he's never going to. I just need to move past it. I don't have a relationship, and I made the conscious decision to not have a relationship with him, because I know that he can't do the work that's necessary for us to have a sustainable, successful relationship. So I said, you know what? I wash my hands of it. I don't have any communication with you because you're too toxic for me.
Yes, I think this show was not a last ditch effort, but I think this show was like his weird and twisted way of attempting, like, to obviously in attempting to repair this relationship. He clearly has not gotten to that point where he's washing his hands of them. There is still this longing in him for that acceptance. There's still this longing in him to have that loving type of relationship. And so unfortunately it is playing out before our very eyes. And I mean, the way that this is all even possible is because of his level of success and fame and money or whatever. So if he was just a regular nigga, no, we would never see this. But unfortunately, he, has this notoriety, and so that is the way it has played out.
Yeah, I'm gonna say both yes and, right? Because I don't think that you're wrong. I don't think that Chris is wrong, and I think all the things that we have all said have been true to varying degrees. However, I do think that the primary objective, unfortunately, was just a misguided masturbation session for his authority, his power, and for him to get off on his fetishes. That's really what I believe. But whatever. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. Maybe the folks will give us commentary on whether or not they think I'm wrong or if I'm right or whatever is going on. So I would be very interested to hear what our audience has to say about this topic. But I do have a final question for both of you before we wrap up this conversation, which is, if the appropriate attempt to heal the tension and the break in their relationship was to have these conversations on camera and to put them on TV, because that's what he needed in order to have the courage to have these tough conversations, what could have been done differently to have a more productive outcome?
On anybody's part?
On anybody's part. Or on everybody's part.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. I really don't. Me personally, I just would not have it. I would not have it on camera. Like, that's just something really personal. I think that they need to handle and get a really good understanding before you go and make it so public, because it's so hard to come back from this. This will live forever.
Yeah.
And even when they say they heal from it, they'll see it again and it'll open up those wounds again. This is permanent.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I agree. There was a lot in this show that if it was me, it would not have seen the light of day. But it was indeed a reality show. This was the realest show
Yes.
I've ever seen in my entire life. And so for that purpose, for that reason alone, I give him kudos because damn, it don't get no realer than that.
It was icky. I don't know if all of it was real. I do feel like some of the conversations were unnecessarily inflammatory, but you know, it is what it is. But what I will say is,
But that's who he is, though. That's who he is. So I believe that everything was authentically him in that series.
I really enjoyed this chat. Like, I really have been waiting to talk to you all about this, but we've been on break so long. Anyway, I would like to thank everybody for hanging out with us while we talked about our thoughts about the Carmichael show, the foolishness, the riggery, the unnecessary,
the shade of it all.
Yeah. And I look forward to having another chat with you fellas and our community shortly.
Absolutely. So don't forget, guys, subscribe, like this video, and hit the notification button so you can get notified when we drop new videos every single week. Thank you guys for joining us, and join us next week here on our YouTube channel and Indie Soup Media. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.
And gentlemen, we're in for an incredible night. Oh, we're taking it up a notch. I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. Wes and Mike TZ coming all straight.
Thanks for watching this show on Indie Soup Media. Now, if you're watching here on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and hit the notification button so that you can get notified when we drop new videos every week. See you guys next time.